Welcome to our kitchen. Today we prepare Brodium sarracenium from the Liber de Coquina, one of the most important medieval cookbooks, written in Latin around the end of the 13th century. We start with ingredients. We need a chicken, white wine, bread, cured pork fatback, almonds, dates, raisins, a lemon, and the spices. Long pepper, cinnamon, nutmeg, and saffron. First, we roast the chicken. We will also stew the chicken later, so for now we have to cook it only halfway. We roasted our chicken for about 40 minutes, but the cooking time depends on the size. We are glad to announce that it's available to pre-order on Amazon our new book, in English and Italian, about medieval cooking, with the translation of the Registrum Coquinae, a funny and interesting cookbook written in the 15th century, some notes about the manuscripts that collect this source, an introduction, and a glossary with the peculiar terms used by this author, very different from classical Latin. All the recipes are recommended by the author to specific social classes or nationality, and in the introduction we analyzed the ingredients and how they were used in the medieval culture according to the original sources. In the Registrum Coquinae you find recipes for pimps and prostitutes, kings and mercenaries, priests and actors, and many others, in a colorful representation of the complexity of medieval society. For now it's available just the book, but within 1 month you will also find the printed edition. For our Italian followers it's also available a book about medieval foods, Medioevo in Cucina, in addition to other books dedicated to the history of foods and beverages. You find the links in the description below. Meanwhile, we mince the cured pork fatback, pit the dates, and shell the almonds. It's unsure whether this recipe comes from an Arabic cookbook, as many others in the Liber de Coquina, but it's possible. Another possibility is that the author created a plate that recalled Arabic foods, for the presence of ingredients such as dates and raisins, Greek raisins in the text, but they are quite common in many medieval recipes, so it's hard to understand exactly why such a recipe should be called Saracenic. In addition, an Arabic cookbook wouldn't use obviously cured pork fatback, an ingredient that appears in most medieval Italian recipes, but probably Murri, the Arabic equivalent of garum. To know more about some of the characteristics of medieval Arabic cooking, check out our recipe for Romania. You find the link to the video in the description below. Then we steep the saffron in warm water and grind the other spices. The author doesn't specify which kinds of spices to use, just to add spices and color the dish as we want. The author of the Liber de Coquina commonly uses nutmeg, cloves, pepper, cinnamon and ginger. Yellow is a nice color for this plate, and saffron pairs perfectly with the other ingredients. But you can choose other colors, for example green, adding a juice obtained pounding aromatic herbs, diluting with a bit of water and sifting the liquid. As aromatic herbs you can use sage, mint, marjoram, dill, parsley and others. We let the chicken cool down a little, then cut it into pieces, keeping the liver aside. The original recipe calls for capon, which is just a big castrated chicken. But where we live, capons are available just in a few periods of the year, usually Easter and Christmas. Capon was more prized in medieval cuisine than chicken and more costly. but the flavor isn't very different. Normally, to roast a medieval chicken or capon, we would spread it with lard, but in this case we skipped this step, since we will add cured pork fat back later, and we are trying to obtain a plate not excessively fat, but clearly this is up to your taste. We add to the spices a piece of the chicken liver, a piece of bread slightly roasted, to which we remove the crust, and dilute with the juice of half a lemon and white wine. The author recommends using succi agri, acidic juices. We find an interesting list of these kinds of juices in Maenus de Maenaris Opusculum de Saporibus. Unripe grapes, lemon and orange juice, vinegar, green sorrel and vine top juice, or pomegranate wine. We use lemon, but you can choose others, even verjuice if you want. If you're interested in the Opusculum de Saporibus, you find the complete translation on our Patreon page, in addition to many articles about historical cooking and translations of ancient and medieval sources. If you want to know more about ancient Roman foods, check out our book, Ancient Roman Cooking, available on Amazon in English and Italian. To support our work, you can also buy us a beer or purchase our merchandise. You find all the links in the description below. Then we melt the cured pork fatback and stew the chicken with the sauce, saffron, raisins, almonds and dates. We stewed the chicken for about 40 minutes. Despite the recipe is called brodium, actually this seems more a stew than a broth, but frequently medieval broths are quite thick and different from ours. This dish was incredible, with sweet and sour flavors and intensely spiced. Surely something that in Italy we would associate with an Arabic plate. Cooked in this way, the meat is slightly smoked and melts in your mouth. Honestly, we loved it. A great plate, very simple to prepare, that would pair perfectly with millet bread or polenta. You find the links in the description below. If you're interested in ancient foods and flavors, subscribe our channel and consider supporting us on Patreon.